being able to represent Britain, helping make history, was really powerful. People would come up and say, we didn't expect Alice Dearing to look like that. I was like screaming inside, I was so excited. It's great having people at the Olympics, but it is about keeping people alive.
The Rugby Rising Locker Room.
Hello and welcome to the Rugby Rising Locker Room in partnership with Mastercard. I am Maud and this is Sadia and.
Today our chat is all about female role models and we are joined with our lovely guest, Alice Dearing.
Hey.
In 2021, Alice became the first black woman to represent Great Britain in the water. She competed in the Tokyo Olympics in the 10K marathon race.
She also co-founded the Black Swimming Association, an organisation set up to diversify the world of aquatics.
You've been the change that you wanted to see. What do you think makes a good role model?
Oh, straight in.
Straight in.
I love it. Okay, I think what makes a good role model is someone who is kind of unapologetically themselves and not afraid to like step out of their comfort zone. And I think one thing about athletes is I don't think every athlete should be held accountable for being a role model, if I'm being completely honest. It's a bit scary sometimes. You see some of the role models that especially young boys kind of look up to. Just because they do a sport to a high level, people think that's someone that they should look up to. I just don't, the two don't always line up, but a lot of people are trying to make positive change. So it's like a worthy title for some people, yeah.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that.
Tell us how it felt to represent Team GB.
Getting to that point of being able to represent Britain at Olympic Games was really so special for me, and especially with the added like kind of bonus of helping make history and trying to bring about like a cultural and social change in society to hopefully make things better was really powerful. And I was really upset with my performance at the Olympics, actually. I came out of it, I was like crying on my interview afterwards. And upon reflection, I wish I'd been kinder to myself because, you know, I did only get that one shot at it. I was hoping to make Paris, it didn't work out for me, and that's why I retired. But it's been a true pleasure and honour to represent Britain at that level and, you know, fly the flag high, hopefully get more people into it. Hopefully people just see that there's a woman with like an afro, you know, not that I wore it as an afro because I needed it braided down just so there wasn't as much drag. But if you look on my Instagram, there's an afro there. So just seeing a woman that potentially represents them in some way is really special for me.
Such a cool journey that you went on. Did you have any role models growing up?
Yeah, so I guess two people like stand out to me instantly. One of them was my mum. She did everything for me. Like, she's been my rock for the longest time. And then the other one who's like, it's always like a stereotypical one, but I think it's because she's just the GOAT, is Serena Williams, of course. But do you two have anyone?
Yeah, I think for me, I literally didn't watch any sport growing up. Like, I just did rugby because I loved it. But probably as I got older, there was a prop that plays for England, Vicky Combra, that really like took me under her wing. Saw her on the weekend, actually. She's now got twins. Like, she's a trailblazer for the game. Like, she's an incredible woman. Yeah, so probably, although it was within the last few years, she's a real big role model for me.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I think that's what's exciting about role models. They can be like for a certain part of your life, and then they can move into it being like, whether you're an adult or something like that. Like, there's never like they're always relevant. There's always a period in your life you can relate to somebody like that. That's really nice.
Was there any role models you had that kind of looked like you or people who you could relate to, whether that was culturally or physically?
When I really got into swimming as a child, we would watch like Commonwealths, Europeans, World Championships, any bit of swimming that was on the TV, we were watching it. And I would have never really noticed the lack of diversity until I saw a black person swimming. And then that's when I realised. And I was like, oh, that's me. One woman called Alia Atkinson. She is a Jamaican swimmer. She's since retired, I think maybe in 2016 or maybe a little bit later. But she did breaststroke, sprint breaststroke. Not my event at all, like completely far removed from being a marathon swimmer, like opposite ends of the spectrum. But she was always really cool, really smiley, just really happy to be there. And I had the delight of meeting her at the Paris Olympics just recently. And like, we both kind of knew each other, and I was like, and she was like, I was like screaming inside. I was so excited. And she was just as cool as I imagined, like just as nice and kind. And it was one of those real like great moments where I've been able to like watch her on TV and always cheered her on, despite like obviously being Jamaican, but just really, really nice, like full circle moment for me. But yeah, in terms of diversity in swimming, as I was growing up, like I said, I kind of didn't notice it. I was very sheltered, being from Birmingham, very diverse area. So all of the clubs that I was at, there was always another family of colour, whether they were Asian or black, whatever it was. But when we went to open meets, like if that family didn't go, all of a sudden I was like one of the only, or like the only. Yeah. And it's kind of funny looking back on it, but it was always really easy to pick my mum out in the audience because it was just, she was the only black woman sat there. So we also had people come up to her at one point and say, we didn't expect Alice Dearing to look like that. And I didn't understand it.
Interesting.
Yeah. And now I've got older and I've realised it was probably a racial aspect because Alice Dearing doesn't give any indication to my heritage.
But what people would stereotype
Exactly.
your heritage to sound like.
Yeah. We just thought it was to do with my appearance, as in like not to do with my race, just the fact that I was petite. And then it wasn't until I got to like 15 years old and I said to my mum, I was like, do you think it's because of my name and my race and that they were approaching you, even though they didn't know her at all, and putting two and two together? Yeah. And then I was kind of like, oh. And like, I'm really happy that me and my mum were that naive. Maybe my mum actually knew it at the time and didn't want to say to me. But I was really happy I was very naive to it because I never had to think about that stuff, and no one should ever have to think about their race or how they fit into a group, especially when it's as open as a sport like swimming. There was an incident when I was 17 years old where a coach, which I had never been coached by, had no affiliation with, called me a racially derogatory word to another swimmer. The other swimmer came and told me, and I reported it to my school and my swim team, and then this whole thing got opened up. But anyway, I remember I told my mum about it, that it happened, and that I told the school. She just left it. She didn't talk to me about it. And then I told her that I had the chance to take it to the police. I decided not to because it was one person's word against the other. Yeah. I was so over it. I was like, I don't want this. And then that was it. We haven't spoken about it. And I'm really happy that we didn't dwell on it. And I know that's not always the approach that you should take. Sometimes you do need to like stand up and speak about injustices that are happening, but I feel like I'm doing that now. But at the time at 17 years old, I was just on the cusp of making my first world's team at the senior level, and you just don't need it. Like no one needs it, right? But especially a 17-year-old girl. So I think the approach that we had of being a bit naive, a bit sheltered, really served me well in the sport because, and like I said, I make it sound like it was negative. I didn't really have any other experiences beside that, which I'm really happy to say, but it could have, if we had seen it through that lens at any point, it could have drastically changed my approach to the sport and potentially pushed me out of it.
So you kind of touched on how not everybody automatically is a role model just because you're in the limelight. Do you see yourself as a role model?
I don't like to call myself one because it sounds really like too big-headed, a bit too grand. I see how the things I've done, like people can look up to, and that I'm always yapping about getting more people into swimming, trying to continue this conversation. I don't want it to die out because it is about, like, it's great having people at the Olympics, that's amazing, but it is about keeping people alive at the primary level.
We now have a question from one of our viewers where we offer some priceless advice in partnership with Mastercard.
The question is, I'm struggling to find accessible female role models, players and coaches to look up to. What would you suggest?
So I'd suggest off the bat, just don't stress about it too much. I know that sounds a little bit negative, but I mean in the sense of you can end up being what you want to see. You can be that change. You can be that role model that you would have liked to have looked at when you're 15 years old. If you don't want to do that, I'd say potentially looked at the sports. There's always somebody working really hard in another sport, in another industry, who you can see yourself reflected in.
You literally nailed it on the head when you initially said being a role model is being authentically yourself, even if there's pressure to it or you won't necessarily call yourself that. I think you're doing a great job in that role.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Alice. Honestly, it's so good to chat to you.
Also, thank you to everyone at home for watching. If you enjoyed, please catch us on more episodes of Rugby Rising Locker Room in partnership with Mastercard. Bye.